Hey everyone, your boy's back. Welcome to episode 275 of the Sports Ballers Podcast. I'm Eric Meyer. Tonight we will continue our preview of the 2024 baseball season with the Western divisions. Plus, it's bracket season, so we'll run through our sheets of integrity and invite you to join our 2024 men's and women's bracket contest. Stick around. Ballers Podcast. My name is Eric. I have hosting duties this week. I'm joined by Corey Puffett and Evan Ash as always. Fellas, how are we doing on this first day of spring?
Doing great because winter's over.
I'm doing well because you're back, feeling better from last week. We're all back in person, so I didn't have to go through the pain in the ass that was last week, having to go back to the COVID days of all of us being remote and having to figure out how to make all the audio stuff work properly.
By the way, what time did you guys start last week?
I think 7.
Okay, because I saw a message came through with a timestamp of like 9:13. Like, I'm on Skype, and I'm like, wait a second, what? They're just starting now? I think I just got the message late.
I think you did.
But I was just like, there's no way they're starting now. I would have seen a lot more complaining about technical difficulties before that. But
thank you for revealing to us and our audience that you did not listen to us last week.
I did not.
Nobody else listens either, so it's fine.
I mean, it was just the central divisions.
Yeah,
who cares?
That's kind of why I didn't bother writing anything. I was like, I'm sure they.
I wouldn't have
blamed
blamed us for skipping that episode.
It's just not going to do it. Well, we've got a lot to talk about because we have more baseball to discuss, a lot of football news, and obviously the NCAA tournaments coming up. We will go through some of our picks. We're not going to go through all 63 potential games.
Aw.
We're not doing that.
For both brackets, right?
Well, we're going to go through both brackets, but not all 63 games for both. Sorry, Corey. Yeah, you watch so much college basketball, I'm sure you're really upset.
I do during this time of year.
Yeah, just right as it's about to start tomorrow. That's when you're going to watch your first college basketball games, pretty much.
I watched the semifinal and the final for NC State in the ACC tournament.
That's something I did not do.
I watched some of the women's conference tournaments.
I watched the Terps.
I watched the Lady Terps. I also watched some of the other games. I watched the LSU South Carolina game.
Okay, well, whatever. Let's talk about football first. NFL football, because it was free agency. The official league season started last week. So some things happened. We just have free agency palooza written down. So
that's, I think, a carryover from last week because we covered all of the free agents that were signed last week.
Why I shouldn't have. Yeah, but what Justin Fields has been traded since.
That is true. That is true.
But first, we'll talk about your Lions, Corey, because your boy Cam Sutton,
definitely not my boy, and even less my boy today.
Apparently, has a warrant out for a totally violent crime. He is accused of battery, and apparently it's a domestic issue. Allegedly, through his wife, girlfriend,
I believe, but yeah, significant
out a
other.
3-story window.
Yeah.
So,
nice guy.
Not great.
I mean, we talked about this on the chat earlier, and this is a guy that during the playoffs kept getting penalized for unnecessary roughness, for plays after the whistle that were completely, they were unnecessary. That's the name, unnecessary roughness. Pulling guys off of the pile, which you can't do, continuing tackles out of bounds where somehow he was not flagged on that play. There was a lot of stuff going on in the field that I was just like, dude, get him out of here. And so, I don't know if just there's something up with him just being way too aggressive, and that unfortunately seems to be carrying over into his home life. So hopefully they catch him. Obviously, like any organization tends to do, the Lions are going to wait to make any final decisions on him until they have all the details. But it seems pretty cut and dry at this point. He did something egregious, and he needs to go.
Yeah, obviously we wish his significant other well as well.
Yes.
Pretty harrowing thing to go through. So I guess the only other topic for the NFL, since you guys covered free agency pretty extensively last week, is we got trade news. Justin Fields traded to the Pittsburgh Steelers for like a 6th-round pick that is
That
conditional.
could be a fourth.
Could become a fourth if Fields plays like 51% of the snaps or something like
Which,
that.
let's be real, like the only reason that he would not usurp Russell Wilson as the starter within the first few weeks would be because they don't want to have to like give up a 4th-rounder. But like, that's not the kind of game that I see Mike Tomlin playing. Like, he's gonna be the starter at some point over Russell Wilson.
Well, as someone who's frustrated because I picked Justin Fields to start for the Steelers in our quarterback challenge, and now he's on the Steelers,
And he still might not start week
there's
one.
still a very good chance he won't start. I'm like, you've got to be kidding me here. I had this right, and yet I don't have it right. I'm just...
Potentially. We still got some time. We'll see what happens in
Yeah,
camp.
I'm hoping for the sake of not just my pick, but also NFL excitement, because I think we're all pretty collectively done with Russell Wilson.
Yes.
Whereas there's still some intrigue as to what Justin Fields can do as a Steeler, somewhere outside the Bears organization, if he can actually become a viable NFL starter somewhere.
Yeah, I mean, I still think he can be. I think that he's got a lot of tools. It hasn't all come together, but he's shown enough flashes of excellence that I have no reason to doubt that he can become a quality NFL starter.
My bigger
agree with
concern, my concern with Fields is not, obviously he's struggled and he's had 3 years to show consistency and hasn't done it. I realize that the Bears are the Bears, and the first year he basically had to suffer through a coaching malpractice situation with Matt Nagy refusing to coach him. Like, he just flat out quit his job while still collecting checks. So that was an abomination.
quitting.
Yeah, quiet quitting.
But we've also
quitting
talked
pretty loudly
about
too.
We've also talked a little about the Steelers and the fact that they're sort of locked in this eternal loop of mediocrity where they can't they can't get to that point where they're contending for a deep playoff run, but they're also never falling into a position where they can get like a really top tier player in the early part of the draft. So like, is this really going to be that big of a step up for him, even if he does get the starting role at some point?
Yeah, and the big thing is, the reason why the Steelers have been so mediocre is because their offense has been pathetic. And not just because their quarterback play has been bad, but everybody hated Matt Canada last year. But let's face
Everybody on the earth
it.
knew about Matt
Yeah.
Canada
Yes.
and how he needed to be fired.
Yes, but
They fired him.
let's keep it real. The Steelers haven't hired a good offensive coordinator in a long time. Like, Matt Canada wasn't the first bad one. They haven't figured this out for like 6 or 7 years.
Which
and
is
it's becoming
particularly
an
troubling
indictment.
considering your head coach is a defensive-minded head coach. You need a really good offensive coordinator in that situation.
You would hope so, and it's become a legitimate criticism of Mike Tomlin, who is charged with hiring out the staff, and it seems like he doesn't know how to find a good offensive coordinator, which is kind of a problem.
Yeah.
So that could affect Fields in a negative way, but
It would help if he had a good quarterback, though, right? Because Kenny Pickett was legendarily bad in
Yeah.
terms of his touchdown percentage and stuff.
there's no doubt that Pickett was
And
bad.
his hand
Yeah,
size.
Tomlin
right?
has
Everybody
had
else is
success, has had successful offenses back when when Ben Roethlisberger was still a good quarterback.
When he had a Hall of Fame quarterback,
Yeah.
mean, the offenses were good.
You know,
Yeah,
the
so-
Patriots were really good when they had a Hall of Fame quarterback, too.
And when they had one of the best running backs in the league and probably the best wide receiver who's crazy in the league.
Yeah.
A
And
really
the
good
Denver
offensive
Broncos,
line.
when they had a Hall of Fame quarterback, they were really good.
Yeah, it's funny how that works.
Yeah. Odd how that works out sometimes.
But like, the other side of the coin is now the Chicago Bears have moved on from Fields, which opens up I thought was a pretty obvious path to them drafting Caleb Williams #1 and him starting week 1 for them. And that seems to be what's going to happen.
Yeah, it's
Apparently,
too much of a no-brainer.
Washington. Somebody was telling me today. I think it was one of my students, so I have no idea whether to believe it or
That's
not.
not credible.
But they're big. They're like a really big Washington fan.
I'm
like
sorry.
bigger than I am at this point. Yes, I'm sorry.
Bigger
for them
than
too.
you are.
You're not a fan.
Bigger
You
than
went to
bigger
root
than
for
I
the
was.
Lions.
Bigger than I was.
That's
But
what it was. Yeah, okay.
supposedly they have been trying to trade up to the #1 spot, which I think is just stupid. Like,
Why would
why
the
are you
Bears
gonna
do that?
why are you gonna trade up from 2 to 1?
Just draft a non-Caleb Williams quarterback.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or if the Bears decide to get cute and draft Jaden Daniels or Drake May instead,
you
then
can have
draft
Caleb
Caleb
Williams.
Williams. Like,
And he can be bad for you.
yeah. Yeah, that's probably
Instead
gonna
of
happen.
one of the other guys being bad for a while.
But, like,
Because let's be honest, like, Washington is not the Texans. This is not an organization that is going to take a good quarterback and allow them to actually play well. It doesn't matter how good the quarterback is. If they go to Washington, they're going to be bad in Washington.
Well, I mean, the Texans organization.
C.J. Stroud would not have had a good season in Washington last year. That's my belief.
I agree with that. But like
wholeheartedly.
Let's not go too far and accuse the Texans of being a good organization, right?
That's
I mean,
what
Cal
I was gonna
McNair's in charge. He has
Still
no
better
idea.
than Washington.
I mean,
At least they got a coach.
yeah, Cal McNair's in
that's the
charge.
big
He has
thing
no
is they
idea
got-
what's going on with anything.
They landed a really, really good coach to be their guy, whereas the Commodes hired Dan Quinn.
Yeah.
Oh, right.
But to
A
be
retread.
not to equate D'Amico Ryans to Dan Quinn by any stretch, but D'Amico Ryans is not an offensive-minded head coach.
No.
So this was also a coach who was able to put people around C.J. Stroud to help him to learn the system, to find success early in his career very quickly. Dan Quinn's not that guy.
D'Amico Ryans has vibes on his side too. Like he just exudes energy and positivity onto your franchise.
Is
Dan-
Dan
Dan
Quinn?
Quinn coaching from the booth last year as the defensive coordinator doesn't exude energy and
I mean,
confidence in his
he exuded
team.
the energy when he was up there with his hat on backwards in the booth with his little card, calling the defense, and Micah Parsons is ripping people's faces off and stuff.
Who was
But
it that
like,
hates people who wear their hats backwards?
Cowherd does.
Yeah,
Cowherd's
Cowherd
not a
hates
backwards
that.
hat guy.
yeah,
What was
but
it
like,
specifically for
I
quarterbacks?
wonder if he ever criticized Dan Quinn for that.
probably
He specifically hates quarterbacks who do it, but anyway,
that doesn't matter.
But Dan Quinn also exuded a lot of energy when the Falcons were up 28-3 in the Super Bowl and then lost the game. So that happened. But yeah, like people have talked about
We're only 8 days away from that day.
from
3/28.
Okay, fine. Whatever. That's also opening day, so
This opening day. It's a happy day for everybody.
it's a good time.
Football fans and baseball fans.
Oh,
Saints
jeez.
fans, ooh, fantastic. It's plastered right outside the Superdome. You know that, right?
Oh, really?
There's a 28-3 score bug decal that somebody slapped
awesome.
onto one of the bridges underneath like the causeway to get into New Orleans, and it's right by the Superdome. It's wonderful. But anyway, there's talk. Robert Griffin III decided to come out and say
Oh, no.
that Caleb Williams needs to pull an Eli Manning or a John Elway. And for those of you who don't know what that means, basically force your way out of being drafted by Chicago and force the Bears to give up the right to draft you, or at least draft you and send you somewhere else. And I find that to be kind of ridiculous, because you can say what you want about the Bears organization and their history of quarterbacks or lack thereof, but in terms of this iteration of the Chicago Bears, this is a pretty darn good situation for a 1-1 quarterback to go. The team
Yeah.
won 7 games last year. They improved as the season went on. Their defense got better once they fleeced the Commodes out of Montez Sweat.
They just got Keenan Allen.
They just got Keenan Allen. They just got DeAndre Swift. Their offensive line has improved. This is a better team than just about any number one pick, probably the last 25 years. Can you name a number 1 overall pick that had a better situation than this? Did Bryce Young have a better situation than this last
No.
year? Did
Certainly
Joe Burrow
not.
have a better situation than this?
No.
No.
Like, that just didn't happen. Did Trevor Lawrence with Urban Meyer as the head coach have a better situation? That's the last
No.
3. Kyler Murray with your boy Cliff Kingsbury being hired? I don't think so.
No.
Well, wait. Didn't Kyler get there before Cliff got there?
No, they got there at
They
the
were
same
at the same
time.
time?
Yeah.
Okay.
Like they got.
I thought he had a year before Cliff got hired.
And then the year before, Baker got drafted to Hugh Jackson's team, who had won 1 game in 2 full seasons. So, yeah, this is not something... You don't complain your way out of this situation, because the next option is Washington. And Washington's situation is so much worse than
Oh
Chicago's.
my god, yeah. Yeah, it's not even close.
Like, the one concern that Griffin brought up that I thought maybe had some legs, but it only really has legs if you don't know what the hell the Bears are going to do, is there's concern about, do they plan on keeping Matt Eberflus around for a lengthy stay, or is he on the hot seat this year? Because if you hot seat the coach with a rookie quarterback, that means there's a pretty darn good chance that you're going to have to fire the coach after a quarterback's rookie year, which is never what you want to do. But it seems like the Bears are committed to having Eberflus be their coach, which, given his lack of success the previous couple of years, you might say, why are they doing that? But
It gives us an extra, at least 2 more years of being able to say Eberflus on the podcast.
love saying Eberflus. And it's also, I've momentarily removed Eberflus from my list because I'm like, if somebody likes him this much, maybe I'll give him a shot.
There's also been no games.
That's true.
So-
But he's coached 2 seasons.
But
I mean, your team doesn't seem to be showing any signs of wanting to get rid of Dennis Allen.
Oh God.
So is he off your list?
No.
He needs to be. The only way he
my
gets
team.
off the list is if he gets jettisoned into the sun.
And like I
That's
said,
how
the
he gets
Bears'
off the list.
defense did improve, and Eberflus is a defensive-minded coach who basically said, in order for this defense to work, I need a pass rusher. Ryan Poles went out and got Sweat, and they immediately improved. So to Eberflus's credit, he said what we needed. He got what they needed, and
it worked.
So you got to give him his due for that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no, I mean, there's no question that the Bears' situation is better than Washington's. Is there a team that has a worse situation than Washington? I'd say Carolina, and that's it. End of list.
Well, Carolina doesn't have any choice. They've got to roll with Bryce Young.
Doesn't have any choice.
What are they going to do?
They made this bed. Now they have to lie in it.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Like
They don't have any active choice. They made their choice already. That
Their
means that
previous
and they
choice-
chose
choice
poorly.
is done.
Yes.
Choice is done. No more choice for them.
Yeah. Like their practice facility. A couple exits down the street from Carowinds. Also done. Demolished. They built half of it and like, oh, we're out of money or something.
They McMansioned this thing and it just stopped.
Yeah.
That's pretty great.
Yeah.
I love that.
It's going to be built. The land is going to be built for something else now.
Okay. All right. That exhausts our NFL coverage for the week, which it makes sense because it's March. So let's go ahead with baseball because we have no NBA stuff because I don't care. So let's do some baseball. Let's do our Major League Baseball, American League, and National League West previews. Corey's got a gajillion notes there, it seems. Evan's
I'm prepared.
thumbing through his phone, as am I. We are all prepared, I hope. I'm going to go in order of what's in the document, so we'll start with the Houston Texans. I'm sorry.
Or perhaps the
Houston
Astros.
Astros. The Texans are a football team.
Yeah.
Who we were just talking about.
That's right. Probably why I had that moment there.
No excuses.
Fair enough. All right, so let's talk about the Astros. They were in their 7th straight American League Championship Series back in October. They looked like they were going to win that series, and then they didn't.
Then they played a home game.
Yes, just like in 2019 where they just seemingly couldn't win at home, even though their home field advantage has been historically great.
No, they could win at home. They won one home playoff game last year, but then they also lost 5.
It's pretty rough.
Yeah.
But-
That's how you don't win the World Series despite being undefeated on the road in the playoffs.
Yeah,
5-0.
Wow.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome. Okay, so let's talk
That sounds
about...
like an unbreakable record.
Because to be clear, the team that did win the World Series also went undefeated on the road in the playoffs last year. They
I
went
know.
11-0.
I watched 2 of them on television.
yeah.
It was very sad.
Like Hunter Strickland, most home runs allowed in one postseason, right? If you keep giving up bombs, you're eventually going to get eliminated, right? But they just kept winning anyway.
There you go.
Yeah, because it was the Nats. Bryce Harper hitting millions of home runs into the Bay. And
Yeah.
Just like, whatever. All right,
Get
let's
it
talk
out
about
of
the
the ocean.
Astros for
Yeah.
2024. So it's still the same core of guys for the most part.
Yeah,
The
lost
top
Michael
4.
Brantley.
That's not a core guy. He was a good player.
Yeah.
He was, but he'd been phased out of being like on the field anyway.
He just gets hurt a lot. too.
No,
he
yeah,
gets
and
hurt.
he's just injured all the time.
Well, he was.
They
injured
would have
all
had
the
him out
time.
there if he was
Didn't-
healthy.
I mean, if you look
hurt.
at like his defensive metrics, like they were not particularly good last year.
He's like 36. Yeah, he's old.
So Yordan Alvarez is going to come in and be their DH, and I think that's going to be at least a equal change.
Well,
Like,
Alvarez is also an adequate left fielder. Like, so
he's
can play.
definitely better left fielder if they need him out there. Yeah.
Yeah, so they've got their 4 guys. They still got Bregman, Altuve, Alvarez, and Tucker. They're 4 big hitters.
Mm-hmm.
That is enough to carry an offense to being one of the best in the league, even if you get minimal production from the rest of the order. And they've still got some solid bats down the lineup, but nothing special after that. But like I said, you don't really need that in order to put up runs.
Bregman is in a contract year. I think I heard that somewhere. So,
Yeah, he is.
like, if he's trying to get paid,
Again, because he's been paid.
I was trying to get
I feel
paid
like
more.
baseball is more than any other sport is the sport where you can look at a player in their contract. You're going to be like, yeah, they're going to like ball out this year. Like NBA is probably the second most, but I always look at baseball as kind of being that sport.
Yeah, it's just, I don't know what it is because there's no point in not trying in your off year because you got to go up there and take the swings anyway. So you might as
Ask
well try to
Anthony
get hits.
Rendon. He was taking swings.
Well, yeah, but okay, but that's a different case where his entire career up to his extension that he got from the Angels, that was his first time of hitting the open market. Before up to that point, he was great it wasn't like he just turned it on in 2019. He was a consistent all-star level player until he got paid, and then he just stopped caring, which was on brand for him because he seems like he never cared about baseball. But we'll talk about his team in a little bit.
Yes.
The Astros, again, defensively, they've taken a little bit of a step back, mostly because
of age.
Well, because of age and because their catch and throw guy. Martin Maldonado was their catch and throw guy.
Yeah.
He couldn't hit a lick, but he was an excellent defensive catcher. They replaced him with Yanier Diaz, who is kind of average defensively, but he provides more offense. So it sort of reshuffled the deck a little bit. He's probably a better overall player, but in terms of preventing runs, it's going to hurt because your most important defender is your catcher, and they've taken a big step back defensively there.
I just wrote down they have new catchers.
Yeah, I really like the boost that they're getting in their bullpen with the addition of Josh Hader.
Yes.
Don't get me wrong. Like he had a very weird 2023. He had a lot of walks. Like he walked 30 of the 30 people in 56 innings pitched.
He's always been a little erratic.
But like that went up from like somewhere around 20 walks in 2022 in a similar number of innings between two teams. So he also had 5 blown saves last year, which was the most in a season since before the pandemic. But he still had a really good ERA. In 2022, his total ERA was 5.22. Last year, it was 1.28.
Yeah,
so he dropped that back down. It was the second best ERA for a season in his career. So I think the boost to their bullpen is going to be slightly offset by the fact that Kendall Graveman had shoulder surgery in January, and so he's going to miss a decent amount of time, if not the whole season. But I think Hader still makes this unit better than it was last season on the whole.
Yeah, the Hader and the Presley combination there, that's enough to carry you through playoff runs. Because I think they're going to need that bullpen to be better, which I think it will be, because their rotation's not as strong as it has been in the past. They're relying on Justin Verlander, who is now, 41 or 42?
41.
And he's coming off of injuries. He's not likely to stay healthy throughout the season. And so it's kind of Framber Valdez and,
Lance McCullers Jr., who's still never healthy.
Yeah, but still there somehow.
The last note that I had on the Astros is something we sort of touched on already, that they need to get their home cooking working this year, because it was not just the playoffs where they went 1-5 at home. They went 39-42 during the regular season at home last year. That's 3 games under 500 for a team that finished the season 18 games above 500.
Mm-hmm. I mean, the Orioles went down there and
almost swept them.
Came back on them. Came back from down 3 runs.
Yeah, so this was a big issue all last year, and they're going to need to fix that.
Who's the Astros manager now? Because Dusty Baker retired.
Yeah, I don't remember.
Let's see.
Corey's looking that up.
Astros manager is Joe Espada.
I've heard of him.
He's wearing pinstripes and a Yankee hat in the picture on Google, so clearly he used to be a Yankee.
Oh, okay.
Aaron Boone should have been replaced by him.
Yeah. Jose Abreu was terrible last year.
He was.
Oh, my God.
Yes.
And I learned today he's 37 years old.
Yeah, he's old.
What happened?
He's always been old.
It's like he aged 5 years last year.
He was 33 last year. Now he's 37.
Yes.
He was never. He was
never 33. Is that what you almost said?
No, he was a very old rookie when he came into the league. So,
okay. See, I didn't know that.
Like an Aaron Judge old?
Probably older.
Wow.
Like Brandon Whedon old?
Probably closer to Brandon Whedon old.
Oh, boy.
Brandon Whedon was only like a year older than Aaron Judge.
Judge was
like 27, wasn't he?
No, he was like 24.
Really?
Yeah, like his
like
first full
27.
season when he still had rookie eligibility, I think he was 25. But
okay,
but that's still pretty old, especially for a guy who's as good as Aaron Judge is, because he sucked in the minors and suddenly
not.
And he went to college too.
What he has turned into.
All right, so I've got last thought on the Astros for me. I got one player to watch is Hunter Brown. He's one of their starting pitchers. Last year had like a 5.09 ERA, but his peripherals were pretty good. It was his first full season in the league. He went like 11-13, but he could make a jump and be better for them, and that could really boost that rotation, which is kind of thinned out a little bit just the last couple of years. I think reasonable take, the Astros should be expected to be in the ALCS again. They're still one of the best teams.
I mean, they've been in the ALCS, what is this now, 7 years in a row?
This would be the 8th straight time.
Yeah. So, like, to expect anything else would be a huge letdown for them.
Yeah, like, I don't think they've declined to a level that would take them out of World Series contention.
Yeah.
You could make a
I'm
strong
not going to say
argument.
that it's a foregone conclusion they make it to the LCS because I think there are other good teams in the
things
American
happen.
League.
It's baseball.
But that is their goal this year. That is still what they are expecting themselves to do.
I still think of them as the best team in the American League. That's how I view the Astros. I think the Orioles are getting close. I think the Rangers have obviously proven they can hang with them. The Yankees as well, but you still got to give it to the Astros, in my opinion.
No
All right.
argument out of me.
So let's move on to, I guess we'll go. It's funny because I wrote these down in alphabetical order of the nicknames, but in the group chat there, or in the document there in geographic location. Doesn't matter. We'll go with the Angels. The Angels are going to be bad again. Like, maybe not super bad, but not good, right? Like I wrote down offense. I wrote down Trout. That's it. I wrote down. That's what I wrote down. Trout. That's it. What else they got?
A bunch of guys, because that's what I wrote down.
So
It's Trout.
I also wrote that this team thanks God every day that the A's are in their division.
I noted that too.
pretty much.
Just, ugh.
The Angels went and replaced Shohei Ohtani with Aaron Hicks.
Well, when you put it like that, it sounds really bad.
I mean, if you look at their additions, the only offensive player of note that the Angels signed this offseason was Aaron Hicks. And Shohei can't pitch this year anyway, no matter where he's at. So, like, Robert Stevenson and Matt Moore don't apply here. But even if we were to say they replaced him with Aaron Hicks and Robert Stevenson, you're like, what the heck? Like, that's pretty much all you need to know. But I'm going to tell you some more just because it's fun.
Oh, no.
The offense will be almost identical to last year, minus Ohtani, so worse. Starting pitching will be almost identical to last year, minus Ohtani, so, again, worse. The bullpen was the area that Anaheim decided to focus on this year, so at least when their starters leave with a 3-1 deficit, it'll stay a 3-1 deficit. Don't expect many save opportunities for this team.
I don't think their bullpen's that good either, to be honest.
I don't think it's that good either, but at least they added some
They've
arms to
got
it,
one
so
guy
it should
that
be
I
a
think-
little bit better than it was last
They've got
year.
one guy that I think is pretty good, and the only thing that's really notable about him is the fact that he's Charlie Sheen. Like his name's Carlos Estevez, that's what Charlie Sheen's actual name is. So, you know.
Oh, really?
Yes, you didn't know that?
Oh, no.
Yeah, do you know who Emilio Estevez is? He's an actor. Okay, well,
Yeah,
that's
no, I
Charlie
don't.
Sheen's brother. They're Martin Sheen's son. Martin Sheen's name is not Martin Sheen. They are Hispanic.
I'm very confused now.
Those are stage names.
Who was the guy from the Mighty Ducks?
That was Emilio Estevez.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he's the only one in the family that decided not to use an anglicized, white people name for Hollywood.
Oh, okay.
Fun fact. Okay, so Charlie Sheen aside, the Angels are going to be bad. I also noticed they do have one player to watch. I think Zach Neto is a pretty good shortstop, like a young player. Not much of a bat, but he's a solid overall player. He could make a jump.
Brandon Drury.
I didn't mention the projected win totals. Houston's at 93.5. LA is at 72.5. Over or under?
Under.
I'm actually going over on that one.
Really?
Not by much, but I think they get to 75.
Okay.
Just because now part of this
They only
is
have 13 against the A's.
part of this is contingent on the fact that I actually think Trout's going to have a reasonably healthy season, and his presence alone gives them a lot of opportunities to win, even in his older age. And another note I have is Joe Adell is still here.
Oh, I wrote Joe Adell sucks.
Well, when I say Joe Adell is still here, I'm implying he sucks and he shouldn't be here anymore.
No.
So
last year they won 73.
yeah,
I have a hard time believing they're going to get to that level.
that's probably fair. But
I'm thinking like 70, 71 wins.
No. I also wrote Anthony Rendon deserves to be booed not only in every ballpark, but everywhere he goes in general.
you get booed at home by his kid.
Yeah.
Walks through the front door, boo.
Walks
Yeah.
into the grocery store.
That'd
Yes.
be awesome. Yes,
Exactly.
Yes, I have team looks like it's ready for fourth place again. I said can't see him cracking 80 wins. I said 75 is attainable, so that might be so attainable. So maybe I might take the under then because 75 is like the ceiling I think for them. So maybe 70, 71 is closer to accurate. Okay, let's move on to. I guess it would be
The A's.
the Oakland A's. They'll be further down. Actually, no, they'll be further up the list because Las Vegas next year. But
No, not next year. Las Vegas in 2028.
is that really when?
That's when it's supposed to open is 2028. They do not know where they're going to play for 2025 through 2027. That's 3 years unaccounted for. But there was a quote from their manager, Mark Kotze, that seemed to suggest that they could be looking to play home games in Miami after this year for a few years while they wait for the stadium to be built, which I don't know how that's going to work. But he literally had a quote where he said something about, our guys know they're going to have to be ready to play whether they're playing here in Oakland or in Miami. Like, does that mean that's where you guys are going?
It's bizarre. Maybe he just said Miami to throw out a city that's super far away.
It could be, but like, I don't know. It was weird.
Like when the Expos played a bunch of home games in Puerto Rico that one year.
Remember when the Rays were supposed to like split time between Montreal and Tampa Bay?
Yes.
There was a conversation about that.
Let's split time between two countries.
You're not even. It's not even.
Yeah,
like
it's not
Buffalo.
like you're. Yeah. If you're Toronto and you're splitting time between there and Buffalo, which I think they've done before, like.
Well, they played a whole season not a whole season, but the 2020 season in Buffalo.
Yeah,
because
they weren't allowed to
cross the border.
the travel restrictions. Yeah.
All right, so A's, I've got offense bad, defense bad, starting pitching dreadful, and bullpen, they've got Mason Miller. He's pretty good.
Oh,
I pretty much just said, do we really have to talk about the on-field product here?
Oh, I said woeful and hopeless. Alex Wood is their opening day starter, and that's it.
Yeah, FanDuel has them at 57.5 wins. They're one of two teams they have projected below 60. And last year they only won 50. I have a hard time believing they're going to get much above that.
They're a little better.
Maybe a little bit. I mean, they went and got Alex Wood, which is not a bad addition. They got Miguel Andujar, which I guess is he still decent?
Boy.
He's a better player than anybody on the A's.
Yeah.
Right? Like, if I know your name, you're a better player than anybody on the A's, probably.
Like, they also lost Tony Kemp, who, like, I actually knew his name.
Okay.
So I don't really know that they're going to be that much better. Like, are they going to be better than 50? They could be, but am I giving them an extra 7.5 wins? Hell no.
I wrote down 60 wins would be a great accomplishment.
I agree.
I agree with that. That's
That would be a
2019
great
Orioles land, right?
is.
Like, I was rooting for 53 and 109 with those Orioles teams. Like, ugh.
Wait, 50? Oh, yeah.
All right, let's move on to the Seattle Mariners. My Mariners, as you guys like to say.
They are your Mariners.
Were. Not
Are.
anymore. All right, so let's talk about them.
Only finished 2 games out of the division title last year.
Yeah, they blew it.
And they missed the playoffs for the first year in a row. So,
Just 20 more.
oh,
All right, so Mariners offense got a pretty balanced unit, I think.
It's
but,
very different from last year.
yeah, there's some new pieces.
About like 4 of their 9 projected starters in their lineup are new to Seattle. They went out and got the 2 Mitches. They got Mitch Haniger and Mitch. What's the other
Album.
Mitch?
They brought back Mitch
Mitch-
Haniger 'cause
Mitch
he was
Garver.
there for a minute.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, they brought him back,
yeah.
but they got Mitch Garver. They brought in Jorge Polanco. They brought in Luis Urias, Luke Raley. Like, they have a lot of new names in their offense this year. Which
Luis
Kelenic
Urias
is gone.
is Ramon Urias' brother.
Yeah,
Oh, is it really?
Yeah, so
it's not very good.
he's not as
Well,
good
he's
as
expected
Ramon.
to come off the bench anyway, but Luke Raley is going to probably bat 8th in their lineup and play in the outfield. But overall, I mean, this is a team that last year was middle of the pack. They were 12th in runs, 16th in OPS. I think that those numbers go up this year. I think they're probably, right around number 10 in Major League Baseball in offense at this point.
Yeah, I think they're a pretty good offense. My concern for them is they feel like they're still a little Julio dependent, and we saw last year Julio sucked for like the first 4 months of the season.
Yeah.
And then he went on an absolute MFer of a tear, and then, just turned his season completely around in the matter of 2 weeks, playing, I think, for your boys' fantasy team. It was great.
Yeah, and they lost Eugenio Suarez, and that's a pretty big back to lose with Josh Rojas taking over.
Guy,
So,
But so
And
they're
they also lose Jesse Winker.
Yeah, but he sucks.
Yeah, he's like that's.
I wrote
not
down
really...
Jesse Winker is here for the Nats, just to note. Here's a really bad player that plays for the Nats.
Yeah, like if you want to point out somebody else that they lost that might be noteworthy is like Teoscar Hernandez. He's gone.
Yeah, that's a bigger loss.
Yeah.
But because I've got him written down for another team. That we're gonna
Right,
talk about,
but I will say like the starting pitching should continue to be lights out. Like,
Yeah, their rotation's good.
Castillo,
Like the
Kirby,
biggest
and
thing is they have to
Gilbert.
stay healthy because everybody's back. Luis Castillo, George Kirby, Logan Gilbert, Bryce Miller, Brian Wu. Same starting 5 from 2023, and they ranked 4th in baseball in starter ERA. So that was a really solid unit, and as long as they stay healthy this year, it's going to continue to be the case.
Yeah, their top 3 is great. Their defense is pretty good.
Bullpen is strong.
Cal Riley's fantastic behind the plate. The rest of the team kind of average, but that's really all you need.
Big dumper.
Yeah, like this is a team that I think should be a playoff team. Like if they don't make the playoffs, that's a disappointing season for them.
I think that they're in the mix among a lot of good American League teams, right? Like we've talked about the American League East with the Yankees, Rays, Orioles, Blue Jays, and then out west you've got the Rangers. We'll talk about them in a second. The Astros and the Mariners. One of those teams has to miss the post.
Yeah,
or at least two actually.
Yeah. And Seattle could be that team, but I don't know. I think it should be a disappointing season to them if they're not in the postseason.
You still got to make it, right? That's right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So, I wrote down final thought for them. Tough sledding against the Texas teams in their division, but they should be in contention. Playoffs could be dicey just because of a loaded field, but yeah, this is a good
It's
team.
the playoffs. You're not going to play terrible teams in the playoffs.
Yeah, you're not going to be able to get in. Because you just stomped a bunch of bad teams, you got to be better than some of the good teams too.
Yeah, FanDuel has them projected for 87.5, 6 behind Houston, 3rd place in the division.
Okay.
Oh,
I think that's
sounds about right.
And that's basically where they were last year, and I think that this is a team that, honestly, I think this is a team that's probably a little bit better overall than it was last year. So I think I would probably take the over, but that's gonna be a tight margin.
I think last year they were kind of overrated by a lot of the nerds. Like Fangraphs worshipped the Mariners last year, and I was like, y'all are trifling a little bit about this. But I think this year they will be better, and they might actually live up to what Fangraphs expects of them, which is to ultimately get into the playoffs.
Okay.
All right, so let's finish off the American League West with the defending World Series champions, the Texas Rangers.
Yeah, we still haven't seen back-to-back World Series titles this century, unless you want to count the Yankees winning their 3rd straight in 2000. I don't really count that because you got to win both in the same century.
Also, doesn't the century start 2001 technically?
Does it?
No.
What do you mean no? That's what the rule is. There's no year 0.
I guess that's true.
Okay, well,
But like the 90s doesn't.
who do you know
continue
from
to
year
2000.
zero
That's
who
a
can
different
verify
measuring
this?
stick, though. That's a decade.
Right? The
A
century started in 2000. Like
That's
get
how
out
I
of
would
here.
look at it.
Yeah.
If you ask somebody, a historian, to say does the year 2000 count as the 21st century or the 20th century, they would say the 20th century, guaranteed.
Yeah.
Also, it's even if you count 2000, it's an overlap. You got to have it.
Like they
both
got to
have
be in the same century. So it's like it's a moot point anyway.
Oh my god.
And
Will the Rangers be the first?
No.
I mean, probably
they
not.
could. They're good, but no.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think so either.
I mean, they spent $1 billion a couple years ago, didn't they, to get
And that's-
Semien and Seager,
And that's
right?
why
And
they won
here
the World
they are.
Series, because those guys were good. But
Yeah.
No.
All right, so I wrote down, they've got good offensive players, Seager, Semien, Nathaniel Lowe, and they've got expectations for their rookie, Wyatt Langford, who is expected to be a contender for Rookie of the Year. But other than that, offense kind of sporadic. They've lost a couple of guys here and there, but they're still pretty good. Like
No love for Evan Carter.
He's all right.
Oh, okay. David Robertson is here.
Yeah.
Yeah, he
there's
is.
Which I think is important. They got him and they got Kirby Yates both in their bullpen, and this is a team that blew 3 more saves than they successfully converted.
Yeah, their bullpen was
They had
terrible last year.
33 blown saves and 30 saves last year.
That's awesome.
What?
I love
Yes,
that.
this is a World Series winning team that
This is
blew
the team
more
that won the
saves than they
championship.
converted.
How is that even possible?
I don't know. That is horrendous for
That's-
any team. Even
What
like the
was
worst
the
team in the
A's
league should not be.
ratio of saves to blown saves?
I should have looked that
I
up.
need to know this now. I also wrote down while you're looking that up. Jacob deGrom probably won't pitch this year, and he's 35.
Well, you
years
got
old.
Jacob deGrom, Tyler Mahle, and Max Scherzer are all going to probably miss at least the first half of the season, and there's no guarantee that any of them pitch this
I
year.
didn't
Yeah.
see any indication that Scherzer was going to pitch this year.
Yeah, I mean, is deGrom gonna pitch? Right, like he had Tommy John surgery like early in the season last year.
So is he sort of on the
So-
same timeline as John Means was when he got hurt, and Means
Yeah.
barely pitched for the Orioles last
Yeah,
year.
he pitched
so-
what 4 games
Yeah, and then wasn't healthy for the playoffs.
and isn't healthy now.
Well, he's on a later start. I wouldn't say he's not healthy.
The Athletics blew 26 saves. They converted 29 saves. So they were above 50%.
Above 500 saves.
So the percentage for the where are they? For the Rangers was 48%, which is the same as the Rockies.
Ooh.
The White Sox were 49%, and every other team was at or above 50.
Those are not teams you want to be sharing company.
No, they're not.
All right,
Ooh, that is atrocious.
so their The Rangers' issues, I think, though, do come from the fact that their rotation isn't going to be as good because like big piece they traded for, their ace last postseason, Jordan Montgomery, he ain't here now. He's not anywhere.
They didn't sign him, and
nobody signed him.
Well, nobody is, and it seems like he wants to go back to the Rangers, but he and his agent Scott Boras somehow
Scott Boras having a rough offseason.
He represents everybody somehow, but I guess they want the Rangers to increase like how much money they're going to spend, like what their cap is going to be or whatever.
What?
I don't know. That's what I was reading in a CBS article.
That sounds ridiculous. The Rangers already spent a whole bunch of money.
They want the Rangers to raise how much they're paying so that they can pay him more, and they're not going to sign until them. I don't know. It's stupid. Like,
I've heard people say Scott Boras is ruining baseball.
I don't like Scott Boras.
Well, I don't like him either because the Orioles never keep any of his clients. So, and he's got 2 of them that we care about right now. That,
and look, Jordan Montgomery through most of his career has not been that impressive to me. Like ever since he was a Yankee and announcers were just like making such a huge deal about how his release point is the same for every pitch. Fastball is the same as a curveball, is the same as a changeup. I was like, oh man, like this guy, like nobody's gonna be able to read the pitch like just based on his grip or like where he's releasing it. Like he's gonna be great, and he was not.
Corey,
but he finally put it together last year, particularly in the postseason. He was phenomenal.
This is some major hater energy coming from you because you're mad the guy wasn't good as a Yankee. Y'all traded him, I think, in 2022 to the Cardinals, and he was great for them.
I wouldn't say great. He was pretty good. He was definitely better for them than he was for us.
And then he goes to the Rangers. Like, he's been good for a while now, though. It's not just like it was a 2-month sample. It's been a year and a half where he's been a quality pitcher. Y'all are just mad because like he's like Jake Arrieta to y'all.
Oh.
Like, just he sucked, and then he goes somewhere else, and he's immediately a major impact pitcher. So, sorry, but Jordan Montgomery's good, and the Rangers not having him is bad for them.
Yes, it is.
Like
what are the other 29 teams doing? Why hasn't anybody paid him yet?
Well, at some point you've got to ask, when there's one individual that's not getting paid and 30 teams that aren't paying him, it's probably the individual's problem.
Yeah, and that doesn't.
Or his agent's
right,
problem.
And again, yeah, exactly. Like it's not necessarily an individual's problem. Like he's not good or he's secretly not good, even though it seems like he's been playing very well. He doesn't want to sign, or his agent is refusing to let him sign. One or the other.
Blake Snell is represented by Scott Boras, and he just got picked
up. He just signed a couple days ago.
We're going to talk about that in just a few minutes.
Yeah, so, like, come on, man. Scott Boras is loafing. He ain't getting it done.
Yeah.
It's washed. Get him out of here.
Yeah.
Looking at you, Jackson.
Washed. That's been good to be washed.
Looking at you,
Gunner
as well. Yeah, move on. Get a better agent. All right, so, anyway, the Rangers, pretty good. I don't know. I think that they're still behind the Astros in terms of overall quality. Yeah, didn't matter last year because they finished behind them and went and beat them in the playoffs. So
they're projected for 88.5 wins, 1 ahead of Seattle, 5 behind Houston. And that's a tough one for me just because of what they're not going to have pitching-wise.
Let me ask you this. Do you think they're better or worse than the Mariners this year?
I think worse, but not significantly. But I do think a few games worse.
I agree. I agree 100%. I think the Mariners are the second best team in this division.
Yeah, which is another part of why I think that it would be a very big disappointment for the Mariners to not make the playoffs because that's already one team that they should finish ahead of who's in that mix. So now you only need to get one of those AL East teams behind you.
All right. Any other thoughts on the Rangers?
That's all I got.
You good? No. Okay. So that. Any other thoughts on the American League West before we move on to the National League?
No, I think I'm good.
Okay. Well, I know for a fact that in terms of both mascot and geographic location, the Arizona Diamondbacks are first alphabetically, so we will start with them. This is the National League champion, Arizona Diamondbacks, I should mention. They won 84 games last year, and they won the NL pennant, which I don't love that. But,
yeah, they were a weird team last year. Like they were so good in the first 68 games of the season.
And then they were
they were terrible.
They were 10 games below 500 from that point on.
They almost let the Marlins in the playoffs,
Didn't they have like 15 losses in a row or something like that?
Yeah, I think they had something like that at one point. And
then
they had this fluky NL pennant winning run where they swept the Brewers, they swept the Dodgers in back-to-back series in the wild card in the division series.
Well, that wasn't a surprise because the Brewers are a joke and the Dodgers love to choke. So.
Yeah, but still, like a sweep though from this
I'm not
team.
surprised. If you saw what happened to Clayton Kershaw,
I mean,
first,
the look on Clayton Kershaw's face after he got bombed in game 1 again, like,
it was,
you know,
it was over.
that
We all knew it was over.
The whole team was deflated, and they're done.
Yeah, it was as soon as that happened, we're like, okay, we can pack this up. The Diamondbacks are going to the NLCS.
And the Phillies choked in the
Phillies, that
season.
was the
they
big
did
shock.
too,
Like
yeah.
they lost 2 games at home. They were just hitting all these home runs. The place was going nuts every
The
night.
Phillies had them 3-1 or 3-2.
3
games to 2
And
with
they had 2
6 and
chances
7
closed
in
out.
Philly.
Yeah, in Philly, and they lost.
And they
both.
lost.
It's insane. It's just the water just got turned off somehow.
The 1971 Orioles would be proud.
That's true. I hear blown World Series.
Yes.
Just like, my goodness.
That's what they did too.
Why'd you
I
have
think
to
they had a
bring that?
3-1 lead.
They did have a 3-1 lead in that series. I think they had.
I like the Diamondbacks this year. I think that this is a team that won 84 games last year. They're projected for 83.5, and I'd probably take the over because I think that this is a better team than it was last year. I feel like they probably will not have as poor of a performance in the second half of the season as they did last year. They went and they got Eugenio Suarez, who's going to be a huge upgrade for them over Evan Longoria at third base. Suarez has made some massive improvements to his defensive game over the past 2 seasons. He went from a -7 defensive run value in 2021 to -1 in 2022 to +8 last season. Like, his defensive glove was a huge asset last year. They also went and got Jock Peterson, who should be an upgrade from Tommy Pham, as long as they don't have to throw him into the outfield, as long as Peterson sticks to DHing, which
As
is
long
right
as he
now the
doesn't
plan.
slap anybody.
Because they've got other outfielders who I think can hold down the fort.
slap
The
Jock
the
Peterson.
only negative outfielder that they have is Corbin Carroll, who's an amazing bat.
But Carroll also projects as a good fielder. Any negative fielding metrics would suggest he just had a down year. He's profiled
Well, most
as
likely,
very good
and I mean, he
defender.
was a rookie last year, so it's like you don't necessarily want to draw a career projection off of 1 year. He had a -2
No, you look at a
run
scouting
value
report,
last
that's
year,
what you look
but
at.
he is a good glove. So like their outfielders are gonna be fine without Jock Peterson in the outfield. They can just DH him, and he's gonna be great.
So
He's a much better hitter than Tommy
Jock
Pham.
Peterson is the one that Tommy Pham slapped, and then Jock
know.
Peterson took his job.
Yes,
I love that.
I love
That's
that too.
amazing. That's excellent.
Yeah, so I think that hitting wise, I think they're going to be better on offense. I think they also have a really good pitching staff. I mean,
It's gotten better.
it's gotten better, and the top 3 guys in their rotation are incredible. Like, I think they're going to go into 60% of their games feeling very confident.
They got rid of your boy Mark Melancone.
Melanson, I
Yeah,
actually know
for
now.
those who've been listening for a few years.
Yeah, no, they got rid of him, and it was their bullpen situation was weird last year because throughout the whole regular season, it was like a patchwork system where.
But then the Mariners
they
gave them
couldn't
all their
figure it out.
dudes at the trade
Right,
deadline.
right. The Mariners gave them all these dudes, and then they just came together in the playoffs. And so, if they can find that success again, like this is a complete team now.
The Mariners quit on their season, and they still almost made the playoffs. You a bunch of idiots. That's why you're the Mariners.
Yeah. They have Miguel Castro, who gave up a walk-off home run in the World Series
Castro.
because his hat was on sideways, as sports talk radio callers would say. Right?
That's what did it.
Yeah.
Where do they buy the sideways hats? How do you get the one with the bill on the side? That's what I want to know.
I don't know.
Anyway, the addition of Erod definitely beefs up this rotation. Like before, it was looking kind of like it was Zach Gallen, Merrill Kelly, and then a bunch of Joes. But adding him gives that key depth.
Yeah, anytime you can have a really solid top 3 guys in your rotation, you're setting yourself up for some massive success.
I don't love this team, to be honest.
I don't either.
Like I don't think they're like I wrote down for their overall outlook. I think it's a solid team. They're playing in a suddenly diminished division because the Padres have fallen from grace, and the Giants are just in perpetual don't bother to rebuild mode, and the Rockies are the Rockies. And then we know the Central sucks, and the East isn't that good. So there's a wild card spot definitely for the taking here.
Yeah.
And there's no reason why the Diamondbacks shouldn't take it. But that doesn't mean I think they're good.
Yeah. So it's changed. So FanDuel projections have the Dodgers winning this division by 20 games. They have at 103.5 wins.
That sounds like too many.
They have Arizona, San Diego, and San Francisco all at 83.5.
You see, I would put
I would put Arizona at the top of that
I
list
would
of
say
3.
they're higher than
Yeah.
that, and the other two, or I would say the Giants are probably a little lower, and I'd say the Padres are a little lower than that.
I would put Arizona probably around like 87 wins, 88. Like I would give them a few wins over last year's
I
team.
think 83.5 is pretty good as
Yeah.
far as setting it.
Because the
goes.
Padres, I think the Padres, they can't possibly be as bad as they were last year, right? Like they had a positive run differential last year. The Padres did.
Yeah, but their best player plays for the Yankees now.
Yeah. Well, we'll talk about the Padres in a minute.
Yeah.
Let's finish on the
Diamondbacks.
the
Diamondbacks. They have Christian Walker, former Oriole.
Orioles legend Christian Walker.
Yeah, Orioles legend Christian Walker. As a roadway designer, it's interesting. They have a guy named Pavin Smith.
Of course, you had to write that down.
Did you write that down?
No.
Oh, okay.
Why would I? I'm not the civil engineer.
Yeah. So, I don't think this team is that good, and I definitely don't think they're defending NL champs good. I think
That was a fluky run.
that was weird. I feel like the 84-ish wins is about right. And I still kind of feel like the Padres are better than them.
We'll talk about them in a second. Let's quickly blow through the Rockies. I wrote down worst team in baseball, and I don't think it's close.
Worst team in all of baseball?
Yes, the whole...
Do the A's still play baseball?
I think that the Rockies are worse than them.
Oh, my.
Yeah.
I have the worst in
does
the
have
NL.
the Rockies finishing 2 games ahead of the A's. I don't know if I agree. I feel like they're kind of on the same playing field.
They're pretty
They're
similarly
pretty bad.
awful. Yeah.
So my comments on Colorado: in 5 years since their last playoff appearance, Colorado's finished at least 30 games out of the NL West 4 times. And keep in mind that there was a 60-game COVID season in that span. So all of the non-COVID seasons, they finished 30 games at least 30 games out of the West.
Didn't the Dodgers go like 49-11 or something in the 60-game season?
They won a lot of games in the short.
Well, they still didn't get the 30 wins above the Rockies in that season.
Well, yeah, I wouldn't expect them.
But all the other 4 they have. So anyway, their most noteworthy non-pitching acquisition was a backup catcher. The best starting pitcher they could get was Cal Quantrill, who was absolutely awful in the half of a season he played last year. He picked it up a little bit in the last month of the year, but it was still the worst season of his career. He had a -11 overall run differential or run value, and -8 of that came from his fastball, which is his primary pitch.
Okay, I think we can just cut to the chase and say
Another
this
forgettable
rotation
season
stinks.
is in store for this team.
I mean, you can't pitch well in Coors Field anyway because the ball doesn't break as much with the thinner air.
Doesn't break and it flies out of the yard. And
Yeah, and then it
stadium is
zooms over the fence as well.
It is the best park for hitters in terms of singles, doubles, triples, and home runs.
But that's part of the reason why I pointed out that his fastball was a big part of his negative pitching value, his negative run value as a pitcher, is because that's the pitch that is going to be affected the least by the thinner air. Like his breaking pitches that were a little bit better for him are going to be even worse now.
So
ask Mariano Rivera how he would feel pitching at Coors Field with his fastball.
Yeah, but his fastball relied on a little bit of
Most
movement.
fastballs do.
His is a 4-seamer.
Unless this is just pumping 102 consistently, which I doubt.
I'd have to look at what his speed is. I don't think it's that, but he throws a 4-seam fastball, so not much movement.
All right,
But you have to throw something
It's
else.
really the
in
least
this-
movement of any pitch in baseball.
But there's something else is going to be a cement mixer, right?
That's true.
I'm not trusting this guy with a lead late.
So I'm going to ask this question, and it's rhetorical because you don't have to answer. Who's the Rockies' token all-star? Okay, I don't expect you to answer. I'm saying Nolan Jones because he's actually kind of a good player.
Who is that?
He's just some guy. He's all right.
Oh, I would have said Chris Bryant or shout out
Chris Bryant sucks.
Charlie Blackmon, Georgia Tech
He's
guy.
still there.
He's still there.
Yeah, good for
Yeah.
him.
Give me Jacob Stallings just because he probably won't be on the field enough to get a negative WAR.
But then he's not. They're gonna pick a guy that plays, even if he plays terribly.
What position does Nolan? You said Nolan Jones.
He's like an outfielder.
Oh, okay. Usually they pick, the token all-star is like a bullpen guy or something.
Yeah, if somebody has a nice little stretch, was Richard Blyer? Was he an all-star for the Orioles?
Maybe.
I think he flirted with being a token all-star in one of those awful years. But
Yeah.
Anyway,
Like George Sherrill in 2008.
he was actually good though.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on. Dodgers.
Yeah.
Dodgers are good.
Class of the West.
They're the best team in baseball on paper and in the standings. The LA Dodgers 1-0. They won this morning in Korea.
It was 6:07 here. It was 7:07 p.m. local time because Seoul is about 13 hours ahead of us.
About.
It is 13 hours ahead of us. Yeah, I don't know why I said about.
Approximately-
They're 13 hours and 12 minutes ahead of us
Approximately
because
exactly 13 hours ahead.
we decided to be more specific with our time zones.
Yeah, we gave up on time zones and we actually just went with what we used to do, which is
Just where the sun is.
so. Anyway, the Dodgers. I don't know if they're the best team in baseball on paper. We talked about the Atlanta Braves, right? Like, come on now, you show a little respect. But anyway, offense great.
Mm-hmm.
Like, Betts, Freeman, Ohtani. Name a better top 3 in your lineup. I don't think you can. I don't think that exists in Major League Baseball.
Does it exist in Major League Baseball ever?
Probably, but not right now.
For what it's worth, FanDuel has LA projected for 2 more wins than Atlanta.
Well, I don't care. The Braves are better.
Well, that's fine. I'm not going to argue with you.
The Braves are a better team.
I mean, I think you could maybe make an argument that it's different if we had two-way Ohtani this year, but we don't have that.
We don't have two-way Ohtani.
We've got the Ohtani who is breaking roofs in stadiums in Seoul, South Korea.
So
on a
does that
foul
add
ball
wins?
It didn't even count for the game.
Yeah, no, it doesn't mean anything.
Yeah.
All right, so great offense. They've got other guys down the lineup. Teoscar Hernandez, who we mentioned.
Yep, they added
Max
him.
Munchies is still there.
Mm-hmm.
Will Smith, not from Bel Air, but from wherever he's from. I don't even know where he's from. But
Yeah,
plays in LA.
I think that if there's really a place on this team that you're concerned, it's probably with the defense, especially in the infield.
Yeah.
Like Max Muncy's getting old. Gavin Lux has been throwing terribly this spring, and he wasn't that great of a defender.
Their best
second base to
infielder's
begin
an
with.
outfielder. They
Yeah.
moved Mookie Betts to shortstop when
Yeah.
he's pushing 30.
I
Yeah.
think that was
Yeah.
telling, right? Like
Yeah.
we just found the best athlete on the team, and he's just going to be your shortstop because the guy who's supposed to be the shortstop for some reason can't do it. So like, what's going on with that? I think that's strange.
The rotation is going to be very different than it was last year, even more so with Clayton Kershaw going on the 60-day IL and not expected to return until at least July, if not August.
Walker Bueller's not walking through that door.
No.
He'll be back eventually.
Yeah. But, they went and got Tyler Glass now. They got Yoshinobu Yamamoto. They got James Paxton, who are all going to be decent additions.
James Paxton.
He's going to be like their fourth
Yeah,
guy in the rotation.
he's going to be their fourth pitcher for every rehab start he has to make when he goes down to AAA because he's always hurt.
Well, that eagle landed on him in Minnesota that one time. So
Big Maples.
I mean, hopefully
though
this
he's
will at least
Canadian.
be an improvement over where they were last year, where they ranked 20th in starter ERA in baseball. They had an ERA over 4.5.
Maybe it's because the Orioles always rock him, but Tyler Glass now doesn't do it for me. I don't think he's that good.
Oh.
I don't buy
Is
it.
it his
I
hair?
agree with that, but
He looks like the guy from Oppenheimer, He also whined with the sticky stuff. Him and Garrett Cole were whining buddies for Pete's sake and stuff like that. He says the lack of sticky stuff caused him to have Tommy John, which
He
is
did say that.
just outrageous. I don't
That
like
is
him.
outrageous.
I don't like him. I do not like him.
I just appreciate that Ohtani's home runs are finally going to come with players on base and when his team isn't trailing by 5 runs.
I mean, you hope.
I mean, yeah. There's no guarantees in baseball.
Maybe the Dodgers fall apart.
Yeah.
That would be hilarious.
Yeah.
Also,
Also,
I'd be sad for Ohtani, but that would be objectively hilarious.
did I misread this? They have Kike Hernandez again.
They brought him back?
I thought I saw that.
They
Maybe I saw.
He's still
T.
listed on
Hernandez.
departures from what I was seeing.
Yeah,
Okay.
I don't think
they
he's
brought
Maybe I got
Enrique
too
back.
excited
there.
and
Your boy. He's no
it
longer
was
with the
Teoscar
Sox because I know
Hernandez.
you were mad about it.
Yeah.
So,
Also, former Sock Joe Kelly is on the
sucks.
Dodgers now. So
he's been on the Dodgers a million times, it seems.
So
Nice swing, bitch, right? He was with the Dodgers when he did that.
yes, and it was hilarious. So it'll be fun, right? He might not be good, but he'll be throwing 100 miles an hour and it'll be right down the middle.
Yes.
So
Like against who's the second baseman, Howie Kendrick, when they were facing the Dodgers in the playoffs after Kershaw gave up the back-to-back bombs to blow the game, and then Joe Kelly comes in here and just starts grooving heaters, and Howie Kendrick just ropes one for a double. I'm like, yep, that's Joe Kelly. Mm-hmm. He sucks. But anyway, they also got some guy named Bobby Miller. He's all right. He's a pretty good pitcher. Clayton Kershaw, whenever he's healthy and not pitching in the post, he's still great.
yes.
Like, he's still out there being one of the best pitchers in baseball when he's actually on the bump, but we don't know when we'll see him.
They also have Chris Taylor still, who's somehow 33 years old.
Somehow he's been around forever.
Well, I'm saying he's only 33,
Oh, you think
right?
he's older than that?
he's older than me and looks it, right? Like, he's just months older than me, but he looks like he's 38, right? Like, what happened?
I don't know what 38 specifically looks like. I've never really thought about years specifically.
You're graying actively, I guess.
Okay, well,
As opposed to passively graying.
probably passively gray. You don't do it on purpose.
So he looks like he's graying on purpose.
No, he just looks older than 33, right?
Okay,
That's what I'm saying.
Sure.
Right?
Chris Taylor's not a noteworthy player anymore, as far as I'm concerned. He's just a guy at this point. All right, bullpen's good. Got a lot of dudes. Nobody great, but plenty of good. So their bullpen should be fine, especially during the regular season. Easy favorite to win this division again. I'm not sure I see them winning 100 billion games like they always do. I think they might take a little bit of a step back, but still should easily win the division. World Series contender. Point blank.
Yeah.
That's what they are.
I mean, we can pencil them in the Braves in the NLCS.
No, we can't.
We can pencil, not pen, but pencil.
No Sharpie, but I wouldn't even pencil the Dodgers in. When have they earned even that level of confidence that I write their name down? They lose all the time, except when the
they
season
got
is
swept by the
made up.
Diamondbacks last year before the NLCS.
Come on.
They do have Kike Hernandez.
They do?
Yes.
Oh, cool.
Number 8.
Well, he's not doing anything anyway. He's cooked, and you know it.
I do know it.
San Diego.
All right, the Dads. Offensively, Tatis, Machado, and Bogarts. Defensively, Tatis, Machado, and Bogarts. And Kim and Higashioka and Cronenworth. The defense is actually pretty good. I'll give them that. But offensively, they got those 3 guys, and that's it. Nobody else can hit.
Yeah, I mean,
Cronzone was terrible.
They've lost Soto. They lost Josh Hader from the bullpen. Mm-hmm. They've lost 3 of their 5 primary starting pitchers from a year ago. So this is going to be a very different team than it was last year.
This bullpen was so bad last year, and they lost one of the best relievers in baseball.
Yeah, Evan mentioned that they had a positive run differential.
Mm-hmm.
They went 82 and 80, so they did finish above 500, but barely. But
I think that speaks to their bad bullpen.
They
can't win close games.
They went 9-23 in 1-run games.
Yep.
They went 2-12 in extra innings games a season ago.
That means their bullpen's bad.
They were incredibly bad in close games. They could not close games out, and they could not come back in close games. So, they brought in some starting pitcher help. They brought in Dylan Cease, Michael King, Johnny Brito to support Darvish and Musgrove at the top of the lineup. But this is not a rotation that I feel is particularly fearful. They
might be fearful
for a game or even across the whole season. Can Darvish still spin a really good game from time to time? Yeah, but he was very inconsistent last year. Same thing with Joe Musgrove.
Darvish has been kind of inconsistent throughout his whole career.
But there were some seasons
he lost
where
a playoff game to Joe Saunders.
That did happen.
Yeah, but he would have.
How do you do that?
I don't know. Bucky knew though. He knew. But yeah, Dylan Cease, he was a member of the Orioles Hall of Fame, according to half of Orioles Twitter. They just got to get Dylan Cease for some reason last year, and I don't think he's that good.
I don't either.
He's good, but he's not I don't consider him a top of the line ace.
No, Michael King is more of a bullpen.
I was surprised when I saw that King was going to be a starter. I mean, I knew that he was used out of the bullpen when he was in New York, but I know he's obviously could be a starter. That seems to be the plan for him, and maybe that works out. Fangraphs seems to like that idea for him.
I guess we'll see.
I mean, I wrote that down as an interesting addition that could make a difference for this team if King ends up becoming an above-average starter for them.
Oh yeah,
really helps their rotation. I said this is an overall a solid rotation, but there's a lot of money being paid out to this rotation for it to not be great. Let's be real.
Yeah.
Come on.
Mm-hmm.
Bullpen is ass. What else is there to say? It's terrible.
The multisyllabic ass, if you will.
Write that down. All right. So my outlook for this team, big budget team that just isn't going to get it done, just like last year, predicting around 500. With the National League the way it is, that could be enough to get into the playoffs, but this team emptied the tank and is now just stuck in limbo. What are they doing?
Can Tatis stay healthy and unsuspended this year?
Something I will give Tatis credit for, he has turned into a tremendous defensive outfielder. He could win a Gold Glove playing in the outfield. He was not that good of a defensive shortstop, but he was when he played in the outfield last year, he was outstanding.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Yeah, nothing to add.
Yeah.
Let's move on
Los
to
Gigantes.
the last team that we're going to talk about for baseball. The Giants.
Congratulations to the Giants
For
winning the Blake Snell sweepstakes. Finally came to a close this week.
congratulations. I'm happy for him.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to be honest. This Giants team is confusing. I don't get what the plan is.
I don't know.
This team isn't good.
They got rid of Gabe Kapler, right? So who's their manager?
I don't know.
Who's their manager this week, right? Like,
No idea.
you know, who's pitching for them other than Logan Webb and Blake
And now
Snell?
Now they
Blake
got
Snell,
Blake
right.
Snell. Alex
Uh-huh.
Cobb.
Well, because
Yeah, they have Alex Cobb. Really? Is what I
He's
said.
been pretty good since he left Baltimore.
Well, that happens.
Yeah,
It does happen.
but I
Ask
am going to
Kevin
be
Gausman.
I'm going to be very interested to see how this pitching staff performs this year because they ranked in the top 10 in pretty much any starting pitching metric you could name, but they lost 4 guys who put up major innings as starters. They had Anthony DeSclafani is gone, Sean Manaea, Alex Wood, Jacob Junis. They all were innings eaters for them last year,
Innings eaters.
and they were top 10 unit in baseball.
Were they a top 10 unit in baseball because they play in the most pitcher-friendly park in baseball?
I'm sure that helps.
Mm-hmm. Helps quite a bit. Just saying. Marine layer. The Marine is right there.
It is.
I mean, come on. Yeah,
Guys hit home runs into the water all the time.
the offense is bad. Like, they added Chapman, they added Solera. Those are their 2 best hitters. And neither one of them, I would say, is one of the best hitters in baseball. They're pretty good. Everybody else stinks.
Bonds, Posey, and Belt aren't walking through that door.
Neither's
right?
Pablo Sandoval.
Yeah,
or
I
Hunter
forgot.
Pence with his weirdness.
Hunter Pence.
Yes.
Yes.
He was awesome.
Yeah.
Brendan Crawford, even.
You
Yeah,
go.
They would take him.
They
Yeah.
got Jorge Soler.
That's what I
Okay.
just said.
They
That's
got
the-
Jung
He did
Hoo
say-
Lee.
So?
Who?
I don't care. Lee.
Oh.
There you go.
Thought-
Come on, man.
Is he on first base yet? Right? Like, it was just what?
I don't think Evan caught it.
He did.
No,
he
I
just did
did.
the
Oh, he
Andrew
did. Oh,
Costello
yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
He knows what's going on.
Yeah. But yeah, I'm like they lost Brandon Crawford, they lost Jock Peterson, they lost Mitch Haniger, like they lost all those pitchers that we
They
just
still
named.
have Yaz's grandson,
Mm-hmm.
Orioles legend Yaz, even though he never played for the Orioles.
Yeah. Looks like they are relying on Mike Yastrzemski, which isn't great.
That's not great.
No. And
Patrick Bailey, though, best throw and catch guy in the league. Can't hit with anything, but he's a tremendous defensive catcher.
I wrote as Joey Bart good.
No,
I think the answer
he's
is
not
no.
even in the lineup. He stinks.
Yeah.
We predicted him to be something special. He's something special, all right.
Yeah. He's a hell of an engineer, I guess.
He needs to
you know,
find something
Maybe
else.
his God-given talents are off the
He and
athletic
Zach
field.
Edey need to join the another occupation guidelines soon.
I mean, maybe.
Hopefully.
And then Luis Matos' son, Luis Matos, is on the Giants.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, I forgot to make fun of somebody for
Where is
having
Luis
Austin Voth.
Matos' dad, Luis Matos, at these days?
Yeah, Austin Voth is a Mariner, by the way, I think.
I wrote his name.
I wrote down Austin
Down at
Voth
some
is
point
here
today.
because I just wanted to point out you've got
on
Austin
the
Voth.
Mariners?
I'm pretty sure he's a Mariner, which made me laugh.
Yes, he is.
That's yep.
Next to Ramon Urias's brother, Austin Voth. There you go.
Best and brightest.
Cool.
All right, we got anything anything else worth saying about the Giants other than why aren't you going to a rebuild?
That was literally all that I had on my sheet.
Why aren't the Giants going to a rebuild?
Yeah, I actually did write that down.
Did you really? Can I see it?
No.
Oh, damn it! I wrote that down.
Oh, you have a paper sheet? You have
I do. I
handwritten
did not
notes?
actually write that down.
Oh, okay.
I said there was nothing else to say here.
Yeah, I finished with too many big names with no depth or youth behind them. Maybe they'll sneak in by default, but I'm underwhelmed.
Sneak into what?
The post.
No, they're not going to sneak into the post.
You got to find 6 teams to put in there, man.
I can find you 6 teams.
Okay, let's see.
Okay.
All right.
I mean,
So I'm going with the Atlanta Braves, the Philadelphia Phillies. I will go with the Dodgers and the Diamondbacks. I will go with whoever ends up winning the NL Central. And I will take either the Padres or the Mets over the Giants.
See, I think that's the Mets.
not the Mets.
Yes, I would take the
Mets.
Mets over the Giants. I would also take Miami over the Giants.
I don't know about that. If those are your competition, you can't pretend like it's not a possibility they get in.
It's not a possibility they get in.
Not a possibility.
It's
The
not a
Giants are done.
possibility.
They're out.
They're done. They're out.
No
I
shot.
mean,
Somebody can screen
Well, when
record
you-
this part of the podcast and play it for me when the Giants don't make it to the playoffs.
We will do that. Which
Yeah.
I don't really care to because I don't want to see the Giants make the playoffs because I think this team's stupid. But
yeah.
whatever.
I mean, when you put it that way against the other teams in the NL, like they'll make the playoffs, but
No,
that-
that's
They
my
no,
point.
they will not.
They-
So one
They-
of those teams has to make it, and none of them deserve to.
yeah, that's what I was going to say. The Giants don't seem like a team that deserves to make the playoffs, right? They're not a playoff caliber team, but because they're in the weaker
The Giants will finish
conference.
at least 3 games out of the last wild card. That's my prediction.
3 games.
At least 3 games out of the last wild card.
So they're 3 games behind the runner-up in the Central, or 3 games
No,
behind.
I did not
You
name
did not
the second.
mention-
I did
that's
not mention the possibility of a second
is true.
Central team being in there.
Corey did not do that. That's
I would probably still take one of those second Central teams over the Giants,
No.
but
No.
but I'm not counting on that. I will count on Miami, Philly, and San Diego all finishing ahead of them.
I think San Diego does.
Maybe.
I have no idea with Miami, right? Like they're
And New York.
and the Mets are disaster.
Doesn't matter.
Evan has the Mets finishing behind the Nats.
Yes, get them out of here. Yeah, get them out of here. The Mets, just hopeless.
All right. Well, that
Go
exhausts
catch a show at the Met.
baseball talk. So let's move on to the pressing news that everybody wants to talk about starting tomorrow. The NCAA Tournament is here.
You sound so excited.
The whole thing is exhausting. This is pomp and circumstance.
These
with the-
next 4 days are going to be amazing, and then it's probably going to suck after that for the men's tournament.
Honestly, last year I was underwhelmed after the first 2. I didn't really care about the second games. Anyway,
I'm looking forward to the women's tournament for sure.
Oh, absolutely. But men's tournament, yikes. All right, so let's talk a little bit about. Like I said, we're not gonna pick all 126 games of the 2 tournaments. Corey is sad about that. But if we have any upsets in the first round that we think we need to shout out or acknowledge, I'll start with you, Corey. Do you have anything nifty in the first round?
Let's see. So my printout sheet, of course, does not actually have the seeds on
seeds?
here.
How do they
Like,
not have the
how does
seeds?
it not print out the seeds? I'm just
That's
now
the
looking
whole
at this.
point.
Thing.
Jeez, so now I got to pull this up on my.
It's like a button-down shirt with no buttons. Like, how are you supposed to
jeez.
line stuff up? What is that?
Did we mention, by the way, Shohei Ohtani had to fire his interpreter?
Now we did.
Well, we just got it in there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There was some
Apparently,
talk about
he
that.
stole $4.5 million.
Apparently, there was some type of people were trying to look for that as a reason to void his contract with the Dodgers as a whole. Because apparently he could do that if he wanted to, which would put him back on the market, which
That would be interesting.
that would be fun.
Anyway, so in the East bracket, I actually only have one first-round upset, and that's number 10 Drake over number 7 Washington State.
It's barely an upset.
Do you guys have anything in the East?
Yeah.
Yes.
First-round upsets?
Yes.
Got Northwestern.
No way.
Yeah.
No way.
Got UAB, University of Alabama,
I got
Birmingham.
If FAU was in any of the other brackets, I would have them beating the 1 seed. The only reason I don't have them moving on to the Sweet 16 is because they have to play UConn in the second round. FAU is coming off of a Final Four run, and their team is better this year.
I don't care. It was a fluke.
I don't care either.
Northwestern's got the best player. I'm picking them. Boo Booey's better than anybody on Florida Atlantic. Point blank. You know how I know that? Because I don't know anybody on Florida Atlantic.
No, I don't
Who
know
also
anybody
are not
on
a
either
fan of
team.
a team in their conference.
Doesn't matter. I guarantee you they don't have a player better than Boo Booey.
Who else do you guys have in the East? Any other upsets?
I've got UAB beating San Diego State as well.
Do you?
Yeah.
They pulled some pretty high profile wins during the regular season. Like, do I guarantee it's gonna happen? No, but if I'm gonna pick a 5-12 upset, I thought that was the one to go for.
I thought about it, but the one thing that gave me a little bit of confidence is that San Diego State has played some top 25 teams and they're undefeated against them. So I feel like I feel confident in their ability to play on the big stage.
Again, that's probably fair, but I think UAB is kind of neat, so I
Alright.
think they could pull some off. Oh, and I have Duquesne beating BYU just because Evan knows why.
Oh,
It's Evan's
yeah.
fault.
Okay.
We won't say it on here.
I also have South Dakota State, Jackrabbits.
Just because they're the Jackrabbits?
Yes.
Okay, good. All right.
So how about in the second round? You guys have any upsets there? Because
We're still in the East?
Yeah, staying in the East. Just go ahead and do that bracket, I guess.
I
I have BYU, number 6, beating number 3 Illinois in the second round.
have the South Dakota State Jackrabbits in the Sweet 16.
Nice.
Wow. Okay. How about you, Eric?
Because why not?
I want to pick against Illinois against Duquesne, but I can't because that's just too much. But
That's part of why I put BYU through, is because I did not want to take Illinois into my Sweet 16, to be honest. I don't think that Illinois can make it there. But if they have to play Morehead State and then Duquesne, like, they're gonna get there.
personally, I hate Illinois for a lot of reasons, but also Brad Underwear is one of the worst coaches in basketball. He's awful.
Brad Underwear.
Like he's the reason why Mark Turgeon kept his job for so long, because Turgeon could always count on Brad Underpants to come to College Park and blow a game.
Jeez.
So he's awful, but I think they get to the Sweet 16.
Sweet
Like
16,
knowing
I've
that
got
before
UConn over Auburn, Iowa State over BYU, and then I have UConn over Iowa State in the Elite 8.
I picked Auburn and Illinois, and then Illinois after that.
Okay.
I've got UConn winning the region.
Okay. Move over to the South, staying at the top of the bracket. First round upsets, I've got Texas A&M over Nebraska in the 9-8. I've got James Madison over Whiskey in the 12-5. And those are my two upsets in that region in the first round.
Texas A&M. I got Vermont.
I thought about that one, but I also didn't want to sleep on the couch, so I had to take Duke through at least one round.
I have Vermont. Let me say it nice and loud. Vermont
Corey,
Catamounts.
Come on, Corey. What are you doing?
They lost to Georgia Tech, right? Get out of here.
That did happen.
Uh,
And they cried over court storming.
yeah, they cried over everything. I can't stand it.
I mean,
Get 'em out of here.
I'm taking number 12 James Madison over number 4 Duke in the second round.
Oh,
JMU, huh?
yeah. No, they have a bulldog adjacent mascot, so they were out. And I also got Western Kentucky Hilltoppers.
What is a bulldog adjacent mascot?
They're like the JMU Dukes or something.
What is it? What is a Duke?
Is
I
their
don't know.
mascot? Is the Duke a dog?
Yeah,
It is?
it's got a smushed face like the dog from Tom and Jerry.
Okay, well that is a bulldog.
I guess it is. Okay.
That's all right. Gotcha.
Yeah.
All right, that's
Fair
cool.
enough.
So
Any other upsets?
no.
Okay.
I got Duke going out too because I hate them.
All right. So second round, I have I mentioned I have JMU. Do you have any upsets in the second round?
I went all chalk. 1, 2, 8. Yeah. Oh no, I'm in the wrong region. Never mind.
Jeez. Yeah.
I was in the Midwest. I was like, I have Purdue losing in this round.
Anyway, I have Houston over JMU, and then Marquette over Kentucky, and then Houston over Marquette in the Elite 8.
I've got Texas Tech, the 6th seed, moving on.
Okay. How far do you have them going?
They're going to lose to Florida in the next round.
Oh wow, you got Florida moving past Marquette.
Well, I have Florida moving past Western Kentucky.
Wait, you took two 15 seeds?
Sure.
It's worth a shot, I guess.
Yeah.
I did not pick against any 1, 2s, or 3s this year.
Oh, okay. Well, I mean,
Oh, in the first round, you
Yeah, in the first round.
yeah, no.
in the second round?
In the second round, I have
Yeah,
some of them
yeah,
going
yeah.
down.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All right. So who do you have coming out of that region, Evan?
The South winner is Houston.
You, Eric?
Give me 1 second. Let me make sure I remember what I wrote down. Yeah, I got Houston. as well.
Same. Okay, so we're all on
I thought
Houston
that
out of
was
that
an easy choice.
out of that one.
Houston's really good.
Moving down to the West, I've got Michigan State past Mississippi State in the 9-8. I've got Charleston over Alabama in the 13-4. I've got New Mexico New Mexico over Clemson in the 11-6, and Nevada over Dayton in the 10-7. So I've got 4 upsets in the first round of the West.
Oh, I went Michigan State, Grand Canyon.
I thought about that one too, but I already had another 12-13, so I didn't want to have 2 of them.
I mean, I have no idea. New Mexico Lobos, of course.
Okay. Yep.
And that's it.
Okay. Eric?
I have. Were we in the second round or the first round?
First round.
Okay, sorry. Hold on.
Almost said
this
second
is kind of hard to navigate. Okay, so I've got Michigan State over Mississippi State.
We all have that
That's
one.
not,
Okay.
That's not really an upset. Anything else?
I think Michigan State is actually favored on FanDuel.
I've got Nevada over Dayton.
Yeah,
in the
I have that
7-10.
one.
Uh,
All right,
So no real upsets. No.
I mean,
nothing
shout out
else.
Larry Funky went to Dayton. That's what I picked up.
So after that, the only upset I have in the second round is New Mexico over Baylor.
Oh,
No, I didn't pick.
I've got New Mexico moving on, and Dayton moving on to join.
Wait,
Bama.
how do you have Dayton moving on? I thought you had Nevada. Oh, you don't. That's
I
right. You
have
don't
Dayton.
have Nevada. Eric does.
Yeah.
All right. So in the Sweet 16, I've got North Carolina over St. Mary's, Arizona over New Mexico, and I've got Arizona over North Carolina to go to the Final Four.
I've got Alabama beating North Carolina and New Mexico beating Dayton, with New Mexico winning in the Elite Eight to go to the Final
So
Four.
you've got an 11 seed in the Final Four. All right.
Yeah.
I like it. Evan.
I don't trust Alabama. I think that they last year.
I have them losing the first round to Charleston.
Last year was their shot to make a run, and they didn't. And I think that they're kind of an underwhelming March team. I think at times. So I've got them going out against St. Mary's in the second round, and so I'm not really counting on much from them. I've got to win this region. I've got Arizona.
Okay. Yeah, that's what I have. Moving to the Midwest. First round upsets, I've got TCU over Utah State. I've got McNeese over Gonzaga and Samford over Kansas, so the 13 and the 12 moving on. I've got Oregon over South Carolina in the 11-6, and I've got Colorado State over Texas in the 10-7. So only the 1, 2, and 3 are not going to be upset in that region, according to me.
I went almost all chalk except for McNeese over Gonzaga.
I would say the most obvious elimination as quickly as possible is Tennessee, because Rick Barnes is a terrible March coach. So I got rid of them.
I didn't know that.
All right, you like St. Peter's to do it again.
I didn't say St. Peter's was going to beat them.
Oh,
I wish, though. That'd be cool.
okay. Second round, I've got McNeese winning as the 12 over the 13. And I've got Colorado State beating Tennessee.
Oh, second round, I have Utah State beating Purdue, and Texas beating Tennessee.
Okay. Eric?
Yeah, I've got Utah State beating Purdue because, and then I've got Creighton beating Tennessee.
Okay.
Or wait, hold on. Creighton beating not Tennessee.
Yeah, you're moving ahead. Anyway.
Yeah, sorry. I got them beating Colorado State. Sorry.
Okay. So Sweet 16, I've got. I took Purdue way further than I wanted to, just because of the road. Like I didn't have them losing to TCU. I didn't have them losing to McNeese. So I have them beating
to
McNeese.
Fairleigh Dickinson.
I know, but I have them beating McNeese. I have Creighton over Colorado State, and then I took Creighton over Purdue into the Final Four. So Creighton's my Final Four team out of this bracket.
I have Kansas beating Utah State, and then Creighton beating Texas, and then Creighton beating Kansas to go to the Final Four.
Okay. So we both got Creighton in the Final Four. Mm-hmm. Eric?
I've got Creighton in the Final Four.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. So that's definitely not going to happen.
So
definitely not going to happen there.
All right, Final Four picks. I've got UConn over Arizona, Creighton over Houston, UConn over Creighton.
I have Illinois over New Mexico, and Houston over Creighton, and Illinois over Houston. So I'm sorry, Illinois, you're not going to win.
I hope not.
Just
Eric? Final Four?
Yeah, I've got Houston beating
Creighton.
Yeah, and then I've got Arizona losing to UConn.
Okay, so we have the same chance again. You have Houston and UConn. I have UConn and Creighton.
Yes.
Who's your champion? UConn or Houston?
Huskies.
All right, so we both got the Huskies.
Oh,
All right.
okay.
Let's move on to the women's.
Yes.
Women's bracket, first round. So
Not gonna lie, I'm completely unprepared for the women's bracket.
So you're just be making these as we do it.
Yes.
All right.
Well, that's how I did it
I'm
before.
basically
We
trying
will
to
start-
do that with the men's.
We will
Oh,
start
okay.
in Regional 1. And
I'm not even signed up for the challenge yet. The
oh
women's
my
bracket.
goodness, come on. One of the things that we mention each year, for those who maybe are not as familiar with the oeuvre of the women's tournament, if you are a top 4 seed in any bracket, you play the first 2 rounds on your home court, not like in your home state or in your hometown, on your home court. So there's a massive home court advantage if you're a 1, 2, 3, or 4 seed. And so for that reason, I do not have any 1, 2s, 3s, or 4s losing in the first round of the tournament.
Oh.
All of my upsets are going to be outside of that purview. So I have in Regional 1, I have Florida Gulf Coast as the 12, beating the 5 Oklahoma. That game is in Indiana. I have Texas A&M as an 11 seed beating number 6 Nebraska. That is going to be on Oregon State, the Oregon State home court. And I have number 10 Marquette over number 7 Ole Miss, and that game is being played in South Bend. Okay. So I've got the 10, 11, and 12 moving on in the first round from Regional 1.
I have those, Florida Gulf Coast, Texas A&M, and Marquette, and then I just threw in Eastern Washington.
Oh, wow.
Just for fun.
See, Oregon State, I mean, we've mentioned Oregon State, or at least I have mentioned Oregon State many times on the show this year because they have been beating all of the good teams. They've had a really fun season. I really hope that they have a deep playoff run because they've been a lot of fun to watch.
Oh,
Eric, you ready yet?
This is like when the teacher called on me for a homework problem, and I'm like, I ain't got it.
that umpire. Did he go? Points down the first.
We'll get it quick.
I'm working on it.
Humor me.
Humor you. Okay, any upsets in the first round?
For Regional 1. Starting in Regional 1.
What is Regional 1?
It's the top left.
Yeah.
I'm not looking
Instead
at a
of
bracket.
the-
I got this.
Oh, my goodness.
What?
Why aren't you in the ESPN thing?
Because I didn't sign up for it in time. It's too late. I'm just trying to see the games now.
You can sign up for it right now.
I gotta find the link. I gotta do this whole thing. It's a whole rigmarole. I don't feel like doing all that.
The whole rigmarole.
Yes.
Okay.
All right. Well, we'll just do this.
I will just.
I've got a champion.
Okay. Well, we'll get
to
there
it,
eventually.
yes. In the second round, I actually have Indiana losing on their home court to Florida Gulf Coast. Florida Gulf Coast has made some interesting tournament runs recently, so I think that they can pull that off.
I've got. Let's see. I picked Indiana to win, but Texas A&M over Eastern Washington, 11 over 14.
Okay.
But then the 1, 4, and 2 seeds all move on for me.
Okay. So Sweet 16, I've got South Carolina over Florida Gulf Coast. I've got Notre Dame over Oregon State, and I've got South Carolina over Notre Dame going to the Final Four.
I've got South Carolina over Indiana and Texas A&M over Notre Dame, and then South Carolina over Texas A&M.
Okay. Moving on to Regional 2. Any upsets in this bracket? I have 2 of them. I have Middle Tennessee State over Louisville in the 11-16 game, and I've got number 10 UNLV over number 7 Creighton. So while I have the men's Creighton team in the championship game, I do not have their women's team winning any games in this tournament.
The only upset I have is number 9 Princeton over West Virginia.
It's not a bad pick. I went with WVU, but I think Princeton is a pretty good pick. They've been very frisky over the last couple of seasons.
I usually pick the Ivy League team to win their game, but Yale was disqualified for being the Bulldogs.
Yeah.
So.
All right, so going on from there, I think I have all chalk. I have the 1, 2, 3, and 4 seeds in the Sweet 16.
I have in Regional 2 Iowa, Colorado, who's a 5,
yep.
And Creighton, who's a 7.
Okay, so you have Creighton going up against LSU, I assume?
Yes.
All right, so I've got Iowa over Kansas State, LSU over UCLA, and I went with Iowa over LSU.
Oh, I went with LSU over Iowa to go to the Final Four.
That's not a terrible pick. I think that for me, it really just came down to I think that Iowa is the better team, and if they had the more difficult matchup in the Sweet 16 than LSU, then I'd probably take LSU to win that game. But I think both of those games are going to be very difficult, and LSU is probably going to have the harder one against UCLA. UCLA has been very good.
Oh,
so I think it just comes down to maybe potentially being a little bit tired, 2 days after that game.
Is it possible also that LSU, after last year's tournament run and all the notoriety that came with it,
I think there's some distractions there.
There's a lot of distractions there between Kim Mulkey.
I also just don't like Kim Mulkey.
who's nuts.
I'm gonna look for an excuse to get to knock her out of the tournament if I can.
Yeah, and they've got Angel Reese is one of the most well-known college basketball players.
Yeah.
Haley Van Lith is one of the most well-known college basketball players, and everybody expected them just to run it back this year because they got even better. And then they kind of were the same team.
Speaking of which, sorry to Haley Van Lith that I knocked out your former team in the first round because I had Middle Tennessee beating Louisville. That gets rid of the possibility of a second-round meeting between LSU and Louisville.
Okay.
Yeah. Moving on to regional, I guess we'll just do regional 4 so that we're kind of going the same order as we did the men. So this is the bottom left corner of the bracket.
Regional 4.
Yeah, they do 1, 2, 3, 4, which whatever. Anyway, my only upset in the first round in this regional is number 11 Green Bay over number 6 Tennessee. I actually have I have all of the 11 seeds moving on in this tournament. I don't have any 6s winning.
Let's see. I've got 9 Florida State. I've got 12 South Dakota State. I've got 13 UC Irvine.
Wow, that would be a pretty big upset on Gonzaga's home court.
I mean, you can't pick a Bulldog team, so I don't know what UC Irvine's mascot is. I didn't look that up.
Probably Bulldogs.
Who's the Banana Slugs?
That's UC Santa Cruz.
And what's the
UC Irvine is Peter the Anteater.
That's right, the Anteaters. That's right. Yeah. I knew that.
I like that. I like that.
That's pretty cool.
Peter the Anteater.
Any others?
Florida State, South Dakota State, UC Irvine, Maryland.
I wanted to take Maryland, but I can't. Iowa State's such a better team than Maryland is right now.
So is Ohio State. Just saying.
Fair.
Just saying.
Yeah.
Go Terps.
I don't know. You know.
Second rounds, I've got Green Bay over NC State.
I've got South Dakota State. Moving on over UC Irvine.
Interesting. So I have Utah over Gonzaga in the 5-4 game.
Oh.
So in the Sweet 16, I have 1 Texas over 5 Utah. I have 2 Stanford over 11 Green Bay, and I've got Stanford beating Texas to go to the Final Four.
Oh, I've got Texas beating South Dakota State and NC State beating Stanford, and then NC State beating Texas.
Okay. Interesting. Move over to Regional 3. First round upsets, I've got number 9 Michigan over number 8 Kansas. And I've got number 11, which will be the winner of Auburn, Arizona, in the first 4 game, beating number 6 Syracuse.
Oh. The only upset for me is Richmond, number 10, beating 7 seed Duke, because ill.
Oh, yeah.
Just not picking that.
In the second round, I have number 5 Baylor beating number 4 Virginia Tech. But I have the 1, 2, and 3 moving on.
Yeah, same.
Okay. So, Elite 8, I've got Baylor over USC.
I have that too.
I have UConn over Ohio State.
I also have that.
And I have UConn over Baylor.
I have that.
You hate
Wow.
UConn.
Okay. I do.
Yeah.
I do. I don't like Gino Ariano, but
right.
they are peaking at the right time. So I've got in the Final Four, South Carolina over Stanford.
Okay.
I've got UConn over Iowa.
Mm-hmm.
Who do you have winning between UConn and LSU?
UConn.
Okay, so we both got South Carolina UConn in the final, in the championship game.
Yes.
I have South Carolina.
I also have South Carolina. Wow.
I mean,
how many games have they lost this season?
Our point differential is all going to come down to like those early upsets and which ones we get right and wrong.
Literally, the only thing that I knew going into the bracket was South Carolina's winning the national championship.
Yeah.
And everything else, I'm like, we'll figure it out later. I was like, yeah, South Carolina's going to win.
Why would you pick against them?
I think it's very interesting because in the women's bracket where South Carolina's the number 1 overall seed, they gave them a rightfully so fairly straightforward path to the Final Four. Like they don't go through a lot of like really tough teams. They did not do that on the men's side for UConn. This is a number 1 overall seed, the only number 1 seed that won their conference tournament, and they have probably the hardest road out of any number 1 seed to make it to the Final Four, in my opinion. But I still have them coming through it and winning it. But part of that is because I want for them to win it again while it's all stacked against them, where the committee seems to not want them to repeat.
I'm just saying, when the Terps won the Natty, they went through a really brutal road.
Oh, yeah, that was one of the toughest that we've ever seen. But some of that had to do with the fact that so much of our bracket went chalk that year that we had to play against all the top teams.
Well, you're also playing all these blue blood.
We had to play the number 1 seed on our side of the bracket in the Final Four. We had to play Kansas, whereas Indiana, they didn't even play a 1 seed on their side of the bracket, did they?
No, actually,
Didn't they beat
I
Duke?
don't think Oklahoma was the 1 seed in there.
Yeah, but they beat Duke in their own region.
Well, yes, so they had to play that 1 seed, but then they didn't have to play another 1 seed in the Final Four.
No.
We had to play a 1 seed in the Final Four. We had to play a number 2 seed to get to the Final Four. We had to play UConn.
It was UConn,
yeah,
right? And they had Karan Butler on that team. And they had to play Kentucky.
We had to play Kentucky. We had to play
We
Wisconsin, which was a pretty solid team there in the 8 seed.
We played Siena.
Well, Siena was the 16 seed. We were going to have an easy
Paul
game
Hewitt
there.
coaching them?
Who's Siena?
Mm-hmm.
I have no idea. Was Paul Hewitt the guy that gave you free pizza?
Yes.
Nice.
Yeah. Paul Hewitt is a legend legend at the bank and a legend at Papa John's.
A legend in your mind because he gave you a free pizza.
A whole pizza.
So we will remind all of our listeners to go to our Facebook or our Twitter page at some point in the next 12 hours or 14 hours, however long it is until the games officially begin with the first round of the tournament. I guess technically it's now called the second round of the tournament because
It starts at noon.
No, they changed
They
it.
changed it
Oh,
back
did
to
they
the
change it
first
back?
round.
Thankfully,
Okay,
yes,
thank goodness. Because
couldn't
I
stand
hated the fact that the first four was now the first round. That's so
dumb.
stupid.
And, oh, by the way, do not expand the tournament. In fact, contract the tournament back to 65. That's it.
Contracted to 64.
Yeah,
That's fine,
yeah,
too.
just make it
get rid of
60.
the play-in. I don't care.
I guess they did the 65 because they wanted to have one more big what is it called? One more at-large bid, but just take that away. Make it 64. I don't understand why we need to have play-in games before the tournament. Why are these 4 teams or 8 teams penalized by having to play an extra game just to get into it? It never made any sense to me.
It's also annoying because you put at-large teams in there. Those teams could actually make a run. 16 seed is never going to make.
Yeah, if you're
Final
why
Four.
not just do it all 16 seeds?
I don't know. It's dumb. I'm tired of it. We just had to watch Virginia play basketball in a postseason format that wasn't the conference.
I guess
tournament.
part of it was that they didn't feel like it'd be fair for 8 conference champions to have to play their way in.
Oh, bro.
I don't know. It's
me a
dumb.
break.
In any case, be sure to go to our Facebook or our Twitter page. We have the links. So we posted them several days ago, but we posted them again today with the links to join. We'll probably do it again tomorrow morning before the tournament officially begins. But you can join our bracket challenges, both men's and women's. See how you stack up against us through this tournament.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
Well, unless there's late breaking news, Evan, anything?
I just want to mention the ACC is countersuing Clemson over the grant of rights and is seeking damages.
Seeking damages?
Yes. So
What
you know,
damages?
It's on.
I don't know.
Oh, this is good.
Yeah. So as they
Buckle
say,
in.
there will be lawyers.
Get the popcorn ready.
Neither side wins except the lawyers.
Well, lawyers always win.
Yeah. So it's Florida State and Clemson trying to leave the ACC. For what conference? I don't know. I guess the Big 10 to make it the Big 20.
The Big 10X.
Yeah, I said the Big 10s. This is just 2 10s now. So I don't know. The ACC is kind of a mess. They got a long-term deal, but the money exploded. Corey's writing something on the board, and it's very faint.
Yeah, that's what I wrote down. That's what I said.
Big 10X too.
Yeah.
Oh.
There was a game called Final Fantasy X-2. That's a real thing. Because it was Final Fantasy X, and then they made a sequel to that specific game. Because normally Final Fantasy games, like Final Fantasy XI is not a sequel to Final Fantasy X in the sense it's not the same story. Mm-hmm. But this was the same story, so they called it Final Fantasy X-2.
Oh, so it's like the Lion King 1.5.
Why not like Final Fantasy X Part 2?
Or 10.5.
They just went
10-2
with
is
10-2.
funny. I enjoy that. I enjoy that.
Or 10 Deluxe Edition.
Well, because the 10 was a Roman
Well,
numeral.
Deluxe Edition would just be like we remastered the game or something, or we added like commentary from the developers.
Yeah, you added something and then you charge full price for
But
it anyway.
This is like a new story that
Like a
builds on
college
the first
textbook.
Anyway, okay. So let's wrap it up because I think that's all we've got. Right?
Yeah.
No, nothing new.
The Orioles
No.
are clobbering the Phillies 13-4.
In another game that doesn't count,
No.
but that's okay. All right. Well, thank you guys for tuning in. You can catch us every
one. Yankees are
week.
clobbering Pittsburgh 12-0.
Apparently, the Yankees are clobbering Pittsburgh 12-0. Corey is very excited for that.
Mm-hmm.
I like seeing that. Giancarlo Stanton has 3 home runs tonight.
What?
It's all
He's
three.
playing?
He's
Yeah.
gonna hit the whole year probably.
Yeah,
Oh.
he hit his 3rd home run in the 4th inning to make it 9-0.
My mom texted me, and I'm sure this is actually my dad, big 10-inch record, which is an Aerosmith song, where I whip out my big 10-inch record. That's the joke. So, anyway, Evan looks absolutely aghast about the fact that I brought that up.
You said Aerosmith?
Yes.
And this is a Steven Tyler lyric?
Well, he didn't write the lyric. It was a blues song that they actually covered.
Oh, but he's singing it, though.
Absolutely.
Oh.
Yes. What do you think he's singing about? He's a rock star.
He's very strange.
Yeah.
Like Simon Cowell said his one time on American Idol that, Simon's mom called him to say that, tell Paula she looks a bit tired. But it was actually Steven Tyler. So.
Okay. Well, if you ever go to the Hard Rock Hotel at Universal Studios, there's a giant mural painting of Steven Tyler, among others, there. And he looks absolutely fantastic in that mural. Now he looks like...
He does not look absolutely fantastic.
He looks like Paula Abdul.
He looks like old, haggard Paula Abdul.
It looks like Paula Abdul mixed with Captain Jack Sparrow.
Yes, he does.
Now we're dunking on Steven Tyler a little too much for my liking.
A little too much.
Yes.
Did you dress him like that?
No.
Oh, okay.
But he's one of the greatest vocalists of all time. Let's give Steven Tyler a little bit of credit. He's very talented.
Okay.
Yeah, just not in the fashion department
okay.
or in the hair department
or
in the moisturizer department or anything else.
The moisturizer department.
I'm not going to say anything to you about that right now, but okay. All right.
What does that even mean?
You got a little dry skin on your eyebrows there, Holmes.
Oh,
fair.
Just pointing that out, All right, anyway, let's wrap the show up. Thank you guys for tuning in. If you have any feedback or questions that you want us to answer on the show, you can send us an email at thesportsballers@gmail.com. You can also get this podcast on Apple, Spotify, Google, or Amazon. Or if you have a podcatcher that we are not on, let us know and we will do our best to accommodate you. You can follow us on Twitter at SportsBallers18. You can follow us individually. Corey is at Corey Puffett. I am at Quagmire67. Evan is at Evan_Ash13. Before we roll on out of here, fellas, shout-outs. Corey, what do you got?
I got a couple of them. So first one is to Tommy Paolucci. He's the Director of Recruiting Operations for the football team at the University of Maryland, and he was honored as the February Terp of the Month. Mm-hmm. So just want to give a congratulations to Pooch. And then,
by the way, Pooch, I feel like I was one of the first people he told that he was taking that job because he told me at your wedding reception.
Yeah.
And he was like, don't make a big deal out of it. Don't tell a bunch of people. I'm like, Tommy, who was I going to tell anyway? Like, you told me. Why would you tell me? You barely know me, but
And then also want to give a shout out to Cam and Bella, a couple of friends of mine through Rashonda. They are getting married down in Atlanta this weekend. Unfortunately, I will not be able to be in attendance because the timing just didn't work. I have to give a test, and I have to grade it this weekend because I got to have it ready for students to do test corrections before spring break. But in any case,
what is going on here? Right?
I said that specifically because I knew Evan was going to react to it.
You give these kids an entire bucket of mulligans, right? There's all this late work and test corrections and stuff. Like, no, you get an AF, okay? You take the test and do as well as you do. And that's it.
It's still not enough for some
test
parents.
corrections.
But anyway, just want to give a shout out to Cam Bell on their wedding. Rashonda will be in attendance. So congratulations to you all.
All right, Evan, what do you got?
I got
You
nothing.
don't have anything. You never
No,
have anything.
no.
See, I come unprepared for the brackets. You come unprepared for the shout-outs every week.
I mean, the brackets are actually a part of our content. So this is just extra stuff that people
This is content. What are you talking about? We're still here. We're still recording.
Most of our listeners are probably gone by now.
They're probably gone before
Most
you
of
went to practice, so it's okay, real. All right, well, my shout-outs are a little bit, like, kind of a week late because I wasn't here last week and I didn't bother to write any current ones down, so I guess I'll just say...
Oh, now who's unprepared?
At least I have something.
Oh, okay.
He was prepared.
Oh, okay.
I'm convalescing, okay? I don't know what to tell you. I
know
had
what that
surgery.
means.
It was very invasive. It was very hard on me. Just give me a break. Okay.
Okay.
All right, anyway. Shout out to Akira Toriyama, who passed away. He was the creator of Dragon Ball Z, for those who don't know. And also shout out, I've got Steph Curry written down here because it was his birthday last week. So his birthday is actually on Pi Day. But as part of that, I also wrote down last week when they played somebody, I forget, they lost without him. He didn't play because he turned his ankle. Mm-hmm. And it was brought to my attention that Steph Curry's win percentage with versus without with the Warriors is by far and away the highest gap among star players of all time.
Of all time?
Yes. Like, including Michael Jordan and Bill
What is his
Russell.
win percentage when he plays, and what's their win percentage when he does not?
It's like 65 versus like 32.
32.
It's a major drop.
Good Lord.
Yeah. So they go from being really good to
really bad.
So
really
like
bad.
the Tom
To
Brady
like Wizards
Patriots
level bad almost.
to the Mac Jones Patriots. Or the Bailey Zappi Patriots.
Yeah.
Just something like that.
Atrocious.
Or the Peyton Manning Colts to the Curtis Painter Colts.
Well, that was even
Yikes.
worse than 32%. That was like 1%.
Well, that's 1%'s not a lot. What are you talking about? The drop was definitely more than 1% of your win.
No. What I'm saying
Their
is that
win
their
percent
win
without
percentage
was
went,
1%.
It was not just down to 32%. It went down to like 1%.
I thought they
So
went
they
2
won
and
two- they won
14 that
two
year.
games.
Did they win 2 games?
Yeah.
I thought
And
they
it's
won 1.
They'd have to win 1 out of 100. There's not 100 games in a season.
I know. I was not doing the like actual.
The
Oh,
math?
you were doing Corey math. Okay.
Oh,
I was doing
okay.
Corey math,
So making stuff up.
but I was doing it on purpose this time.
Sure.
Uh-huh.
All right. Let's wrap this up. Thank you guys for tuning in. Next week, Evan will have control of the mic to let us know what we're thinking about what's happened in the tournament so far and
Postseason picks and
our
awards.
actual Major League preview with standings, any amendments we might make, and then all the good stuff.
Talk about how excited we are for opening day the next day.
Yes.
Or we might do Tuesday. I don't know.
We've got our fantasy baseball draft this Sunday.
That's right.
Oh.
We're going to be out of pocket for that, so
Good luck on it.
that's going to be hilarious.
We expanded from 8 to 10 teams this year. It's gonna make things
That's
a little
gonna be
bit
great, too,
little bit
yeah.
tougher as far as finding names to pick.
Finding names.
Well,
Yeah.
there's a whole list of them, so we'll take them.
Yeah.
I feel like fantasy baseball. It's kind of the season's kind of more one in season than football. Like the draft matters, but you got to find guys, throughout the
Yeah.
season. Like it's just
But there's gonna be fewer players available on waivers because we're adding an extra 40 players that are gonna be rostered now.
okay. Bring it on. I'm looking forward to it. Should be a good time. All right, again, thank you guys for tuning in, and we will see you next week. Go baseball and take it easy.